I think all moms recognize that mountain. Actually, it was a song inspired by one of Martin Luther King's last speeches up to the mountaintop. I think, especially with all that's been going on in the world and what we've endured the last over a year, we've felt that mountain that we're climbing. It can be the mountain of survival, the mountain of learning about ourselves and how we move through pieces of us that are coming up to be healed. It can be the mountain of acceptance. But it's all about the mountain of consciousness. It's the same mountain that Julia Ward Howe was climbing. The mountain to reach to that place at the top that brings us all together. It's the same as the reading that Reverend Janet read from Jean Houston, thank you. Jean Houston, about how we're all striving and working at becoming a greater being, a unified person, somebody that understands we are in this together. And in that song, when it says, "Because you asked me to," I think we all feel that calling in us, because there's a place in all of us that knows we are here, we are alive, we are human beings, because we are here to grow and become more awakened, expanded, greater vision, understanding. It's in there. The Talmud, the old book of Jewish laws, their Bible, says every blade of grass has an angel bending over it, saying, grow, grow. That's the same thing as you asked me to. It's that calling in us that knows we are about creation. We are about the creative process. It's interesting because we are designed, we are programmed physically, socially, spiritually to connect with one another. Because great ideas might happen in our mind, but we can't create alone. We need each other. And so we're programmed to connect with one another and to give birth to little human beings, and that takes creation, if you didn't know that. We have to create together, and also to create new ideas and greater possibilities in the world. And that we can't do alone. That doesn't happen by ourselves. That might be my phone in the office. I'm sorry if it is. Oh no. Ernest Holmes talked about the androgynous principle of God, because we talk about, we think of birthing as a motherhood process, a female process, but it's not. It's a process of all beings. The androgynous principle of God is the mother-father God, which is kind of an interesting concept, mother-father God. But if there's a divine father, and unless you live in a total patriarchal society, there has to be a divine mother. There has to be, to balance out into this world. It just has to be that. It truly, if there's one divine father, there has to be one divine mother. And I want to talk about one of the major divine mothers, one very, very wise woman who lived a long time ago. She's somebody I talked about before because I love what I've read about her, a little bits, but I've read something a little more about Julian of Norwich, and she truly is a wise woman. And if I got one of those dinners that you could have with somebody in history you'd like to sit down and talk to, she'd be right there, because she sounds really sweet and nurturing and kind, but she wrote some of the most subversive writings in Christianity, in the history of Christianity, because she was awakened to who she was. Now, she lived much of her life in England as a medieval anchoress, or a woman who just kind of like a nun who just prayed a lot. And she lived a lot of time in prayer and contemplation, but she was not a hermit. She lived in a very tiny place in the back of the church, but she cultivated the garden in the back of the church, and she took care of bees So she loved the earth. And there was a little window in the back of her small dwelling that opened up to the busy street in Norwich. And she had designated hours where she would open her windows and she'd counsel the townspeople on anything from, the loss of a loved one, which at that time, she lived through 3 plagues in Europe. A third of the people died during the plague. So there's a lot of people to move through grief at that time. Or interpretation of their dreams. And the most controversial thing she said, though, was God as mother. She said God as mother, because here's how she reasoned it. She said, who but a mother would break herself open and pour out all her love for her children? God is the mother. And she said, Jesus is the true example of the Divine Mother, because he incarnated here on earth for one thing, and that's love. Do you think that went over too well with the men at the time? How did she get away with that? I mean, really, how did she get away with talking about Jesus as being the true Divine Mother, and that God is a woman? At that time, God is the mother. Well, here's what she did. What any smart woman would do. She hid her writings under her bed. And they were lost in obscurity for 500 years until the turn of the 20th century, when they were found, they were rediscovered, and then they were written in modern English instead of Middle English, and they were given out to the people. She talked about, she calls her visions the showings, where Christ came to her, and Christ said, God is love. That is the nature of God. The human soul is love. That's the nature of the human. And God's attitude to all beings, all creatures, all life is unconditional love. She said that the Divine Mother had brought her through times of paralyzing fear and doubt in her own life. And she called people to have a direct relationship with the God in their own soul. Does that sound familiar to us? I mean, isn't that what we cultivate? The God in our own soul, our own relationship to that spiritual principle? And I think the big problem we have is, here's this process of creation, whether we're calling it the birthing process, birthing a child, or if it's birthing a new idea or a new experience, and we think, I'm going to do it all by myself. We think the creative process is something we can do alone. There's no way in heck you could do the creative process by yourself. Creativity, is the outpicturing of spirit, the unique expression of God in all of us. That's the way spirit makes itself known. It's the way we use that energy. So this creative process, even though at times we feel like, oh my, I can't, have any of you during these maybe the last 24 hours felt really tired? I mean, it's just a time, there's so much to do in the world right now, in here, to live up to what Reverend Janet was talking about, to work on our own selves, because we can hear the cries of the world. We can hear that voice telling us, this is the time. We got to move through all that stuff that separates us, that keeps us living in duality and dualism, and we've got to heal inside ourselves. What can I do to make life better? Work on ourselves first, and then go out into the world. But we hear those calls, and we need to take time. The wise woman knows that we have to take time. We've been given 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. This is time to talk less, observe, and hear more. We will feel discouraged and frustrated in the process. Life doesn't come with an instruction manual, in case you didn't know. And I know raising children, I remember at times I would shut myself in the bathroom with a parenting book. And I'd be shuffling through the pages. What can I do so I won't mess my daughters up for life? How can I do this? Because we aren't given the answers. We will make mistakes. We will stumble. That's how we learn. But we can also teach each other. Teach each other. You know, this is nothing new. The beautiful Sufi mystic Hafez said, just sit there right now. Don't do a thing. Just rest. Your separation from God, from love, is the hardest thing you will ever do. Let me bring you trays of food and something you like to drink. You can use my soft words as a cushion for your head. That divine mother is always holding us. It's holding our sons and daughters. It's holding our new experiences, our new ideas that want to grow. It's holding us. And if we just take time to let go and trust the process and know we'll be guided, it will come. It's interesting that we would wonder about this divine process when we trust that a baby knows how to be born. Why wouldn't that same process, creative process, apply to health in our lives? That we could listen what needs to be done, to plant the seed in, you know, when a seed, here's a little quote by Ernest, and he said, just as soon as the seed is hidden in the ground, or I said, as soon as the seed is planted in the rich soil and darkness, something stirs within it. We have to trust the process. Why wouldn't we trust the process in our life? That same creative energy is at work right now if we focus on health, guidance, abundance, loving relationships, success, whatever it is. Why wouldn't we trust that process? What's wrong with us? Why can't we remember that there's something more always going on? We don't have to do this alone. We lay our head on that cushion in the lap of the mother, the divine mother, and just know that we will be guided. That little voice that is either saying, grow, grow, come this way, whatever it is there. We get a little confused about how God's going to speak to us. You know, it's not a loud, booming voice, as a dear friend wrote me recently. It comes in different ways. It comes when we read the pages of a book. It can come when we hear music, or hear children laughing, or the embrace of a friend. It speaks in so many different ways. The beautiful mystic Rumi said, drum sound rises on the air. It throbs my heart. A voice inside the beat. A voice inside the beat, which means we have to listen. A voice inside the beat says, I know you are tired. I know you are tired. I know it, but come. This is the way. We have to take time to listen. And then we can do our part. So here's our idea that we've come up with. Here's whatever we're giving birth to in our life. Are we cradling that idea in the arms of love and possibility? Or are we gripping it with the energy of control and trying to make things happen? Are we preparing for the birth of our, just a new self maybe, a new idea about us, or a new something we're creating? Are we preparing it in the same way a new mom and dad prepare for the birth of a new child? Think about it. So I'm going to ask us all, because, you know, we're not all masculine, all feminine. We're all on a spectrum of different attributes and qualities in life. Today, being Mother's Day, to give birth to the wise woman within us, because that's what's going to save us. It's going to save this planet. It's going to bring us together. Wise women know how to praise. They know how to praise the earth in appreciation for where they live. In many cultures, the earth is the mother. The Taoists say that all growth comes from the earth. So just like Julian of Norwich, I'm sure when she prayed and done all her work, she went out in the garden to be fed. She went out in the garden to feel growth and feel the earth. The wise women praise the sky, Mother Earth, Father Sky. Do you know the Taoists say when they're asked, the master Taoists, when they're asked, well, where do I find God? One hand points to the sky and one points to the earth. They know where to find spirit. And wise women praise the water because the water is life. So if you have a question what to do, where to go, how to celebrate, I believe that women are learning to re-sacralize ordinary experiences, to find beauty and love and light in everything. So let's awaken that in ourselves, that we can find beauty and light in each other, in the simple things we do, and then we can expand love and peace and beauty on the earth right now. I trust us. I trust us. I know that little seed in us wants to come together and create a new garden of possibilities, releasing the things that don't work and growing into something wonderful. So I'm going to ask you just to join with me as our musicians come on stage, because we have a beautiful combination of wise women and children. They're going to give us the closing song. We have, and I'll introduce them afterwards, but they're showing us the possibility of life and love and goodness. Just hold in your heart that seed, that little beat of your heart that holds a voice inside. A voice that says, grow, let go, become, love, feel, know, whatever it is for you. Life is pulsating through each and every one of us in our own unique way right now, guiding and directing us to our next experience with the support, with the backpack of everything we need for the journey. We're well equipped. We have everything we need. Together, let us trust the process, know the truth, awaken that wise being within each and every one of us, and say, thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, each other, for this beautiful journey that we call life.